Renewable Natural Gas Program. Rick Keneally, would you head up to the podium, please, and thank you. Yeah, you may also sit at the desk. I don't know, I just like seeing you stand. Now, before we begin on this, I do have to ask the million-dollar question of, we are receiving drawings, completed drawings from Navitas. Upon it, say we were to cease all payments, we will be receiving completed drawings, correct?
Correct.
And we will be receiving a monetary amount back.
Correct.
If the drawings were complete, what was that money intended for?
Further discussion and design, not in design, but also further development of this project, along with the other companies that they would be working with, REV, MSG, whoever, or MSC. So.
Okay, that's all. I figured we.
That's a very appropriate question, and I'm glad you asked it, because I do know this was coming. So I pulled the last AIA building. It was dated 6/26. We authorized $348,000 to spend. Navitas to date, according to their billing, AIA billing, dated 6/26, they've billed us $87,000. There's a remaining $261,000 yet to be billed. And I did talk to Mary Ann, and apparently the June bill hasn't gone out yet, which I'm a little confused, because the number that was provided, I think, by Bob Wimmer was that there was like
$165,000
coming. So I just wanted to clarify that.
It's been ceased, and they have ceased work since they were given that directive.
The credit of the 100.
The drawings.
Yes.
Something becomes more viable that we have to go back to them, or?
So, yeah, B&L owns the drawings, correct?
Yes.
All right. Comments, concerns? I mean, we're all going to speak to each other here at this point.
Sure.
I know you and I have discussed this with other council members too. There is still a lot of value to this project. It is worth discussing. There is a lot of risk, and there is a lot of reward possibility too. So please, floor is yours.
I'd be happy to. So I think I'm going to be in the minority, and I recognize that. And I think that that's okay. And there should be room for debate, and that should be allowed. Because I think some people see this as a potential risk. I see this as we are literally burning money right now. So there's two factors in that, this is an opportunity for us to reuse that gas that we're burning into the environment right now as a revenue stream. Now that's complicated, and it's not always a guarantee, but we certainly have estimates that get us to a place where we can sell these credits off and give us some solid revenue income, which we desperately need to cover these capital projects that we talk about. But the other piece that we can't even really quantify and haven't within what we've had is the environmental impact of us not burning that gas into the environment is a factor that should be considered in this project. I know there's concern about the RG&E contract, and I understand that. This is a project in which we are building the piping to allow that gas to flow into RG&E. It's our equipment, our piping, our project. It would make sense that we would hold the liability for that. And it's reasonable for us as council folks to say, is that a risk that we want to take? And determine one way or another. That's allowed, totally fine. I think it's a risk that we've walked through. I think Rick has done a great job working with Navitas and the engineering firms to talk through these concerns so that the quality of the gas is maintained so that we don't have liability concerns. But I do think that there's just so much value in getting the revenue and adding to our current scenario and bolstering our partnerships with companies like Fairlife and potentially, creating new relationships with different facilities elsewhere. So I just think there's a lot of opportunity. I'm still very much in favor for the project.
All right. Councilman Cahill.
So it's not a surprise to anyone on this board that I have not been advocating for this project since day one, in that we're $120 million in debt, and this is an optional project. It is not something that we have to do because other aspects of the town have gone neglected. We needed the salt barn, highway garage. We have Fosford Pump Station. So I've been pretty vocal about that since day one. And I think it was probably 2 months we're into this project, and we committed $348,000 to Navitas to give us the engineering drawings. Again, I voted against that. Well, then this showed up. Okay, this is a 39-page contract with RG&E, which assumes all liability on the town of Webster. Okay, I mean all of it. They don't assume any liability. Even if they damaged their equipment on our property, we pay for it. If something happens downstream, we pay for it. We assume all liability. Our fiduciary responsibility, in my opinion, is to you, okay? Don't put liability on the residents of the town of Webster if we don't have to. But here's the kicker, okay? We got this 3 months in. Guess where this contract is available right now and was 3 months ago? On the RG&E website. So would it be responsible for Navitas to present that to the board prior to voting on spending your money, $348,000? I say yes, it would be. So that we could have the discussions and the debate and present to the residents of this town, hey, we might get this revenue, we might get these tax abatements, but we're going to have to spend $348,000 first. And then we have an opportunity to listen to the residents, what their opinion is of that. But that didn't happen. So I'm going to vote no.
All right. I'm with Councilman Hunter in the minority. I do see the risks. There are risks. There are risks with any contract we have. And our town attorney has done a great job of listing them out. There are a lot of risks. The liabilities are there. They did everything they could to get to RG&E to try and get them to compromise with us. We're not in a position to do it. I can wish all day that they would, but they're not, to give a little more assurances to the town. But I really did look at this as looking at the risk versus the reward. And I would agree with Councilman Hunter that, the revenue is there. Looking at our director of finance's numbers, despite the updated O&M costs, the tax credits, everything, it's just, this is a possibility for us to pay down our debt sooner and get to a point within 10 years that we could actively start to not have this level of debt anymore. That's just my opinion. Everybody is entitled to theirs. This is why this is a vote. This is why there are 5 of us. And this is why we are having this vote tonight, is because there are a lot of risks. There are a lot of concerns, and these are not easy decisions. And I appreciate everyone being able to voice what they want out of this. And it's just, I appreciate everyone at this point talking about it and having this discussion. But I still see the benefit, the economic benefit, the infrastructure benefit, the long-term reduction of our debt benefit. I still see the benefit of it. So, Councilwoman Wright?
So you're voting,
I would most likely still be in favor in the minority.
then you need to say yes, right?
We have not made a
The
motion.
motion hasn't
I'm
been.
sorry.
We're not,
I'm
but
sorry,
again,
we're-
you guys
John-
may have things that sway me.
John got ahead of the game with.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
sorry. He didn't know, so I thought we were at that point.
No,
So
we're just
I was one
discussing.
person who was in favor of this, surprisingly, because of the tax credit and because it was going to pay for itself and the revenue opportunity. But the RG&E contract was alarming. They do have the same contract with other municipalities, so that even though it was concerning, I would say, okay, well, they have this contract with other municipalities who have these projects, so I maybe more set the RG&E contract aside. But when there was an issue at another municipality that became a problem, and when the maintenance cost became $100,000 versus $15,000, and when you look at the projection for this, there is a possibility of losing $22 million over the course of, I don't know what it was, the 20 years.
Yeah, if we did not receive a tax credit, and if we don't receive the tax credit, it would be
That-
significantly more.
but there's the revenue risk and the operating cost
Correct.
risk that is contributing to that $22 million loss. So I just like, as much as I want this to be a winner, voting yes on a project that could be a $22 million loss when we're already in a debt for other projects that we have to do, it's very difficult for me to sit here and vote yes, that I'm willing to accept that risk on behalf of Webster taxpayers. I know I wouldn't want to take that risk as a Webster taxpayer. I'm very excited and I'm happy that we're using 47% of that gas within the wastewater treatment plant today. So it's not all going to waste. So for the other 53%, taking on a project that has a lot of, there are a lot of assumptions in this project. And one of the assumptions is it's going to cost $9 million. And I think with all of the projects that I've ever been involved in for my 2.5 years on the board, nothing cost what the original cost of the project was. So it could be multiple millions of dollars more than $9 million. So there are too many moving parts to sit here and say that it's the right time and the right thing to do. So yeah, it would be great if the moon and stars aligned, but I have concerns that, you know, there's risk in a $10,000 match for planting some flowers. I think I'd be willing to take that risk. I'm not willing to take a $22 million risk on the taxpayer's dime.
Jennifer, thank you for bringing out the increase in operating costs from 15,000 to 100,000. I've neglected to mention that.
Yeah, the operating costs rise
Right.
quite substantially. I mean, you know, for me, this is just sad for Webster. Like, I think we got to look at this realistic. We had a $6 to $8 million tax credit we could have possibly gotten from the government. Now we got to preface that just because we get it and we apply for it, we still might not get it.
Right.
But we had $6 to $8 million, and in over a year, we kind of almost ran. We're also running out of time because we only have until like August to make a decision if we want to kick the can down the road. And the fact that in a year, we didn't even get to the finish line to know if this could really make money because we don't even know right now. Yeah, this might lose us $200 million. This might make us $1,000 a year. We're still pretty far away from actually knowing that. We have limited projections right now.
Correct.
And we have several costs that we don't have, which is part of the problem of, once again, even the RG&E contract, you know, there's many costs in that RG&E contract that they haven't given to us yet. And per RG&E, well, when you say you're going to do this, we'll let you know those additional costs. So how do we as a town budget?
Great
Are
point.
those additional costs $1,000? Or are they 200,000? And that's part of the problem with RG&E of like, yeah, Navitas could have told us sooner. And we compare to all the other utility companies in New York, RG&E has the most one-sided contract for these agreements out of all of them, which just sucks for us as a town. Like,
Yeah.
we can't choose to work with another utility provider that says, hey, we're willing to share some of this burden and share some of the cost. John, to your point, with RG&E, if their guy shows up drunk, drives into the machine and breaks it, we're going to have to pay for that unless we can prove
Correct.
negligence, which is hard to do. At least some of these other utility companies will say, yeah, if my guy shows up drunk and he drives in your machine, we will pay for that because he was our guy that was drunk. But I think it comes back to too, like, I wish we could have in a time machine gone back and evaluated with the instant of time other alternatives. Because that's part of the other problem here.
Right.
Now it's July 2nd. We've got till maybe the end of August. And even if we say, okay, RG&E's a no-go for liability and costs, can we do something else with this gas, Nick, to your point, besides just burning it off? Great, let's evaluate those. But now we're July 2nd.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, you know, goes on the prior board for Navitas laying us down this path. And for us, when we got in, to be like, hey, once we knew the RG&E contract was a problem back in January, February, do we spend some more time thinking about alternatives and what could be? And that's part of the problem. You know, it goes on Navitas too of like, once again, even if we try and want to go forward, they're so far behind even 30 days ago of the information we need to get this done between contracts for the gas with other suppliers. We got to review those. We got to negotiate those. And Navitas has been very salesy with us. Like they keep saying there's a revenue guarantee, but it's really not a revenue guarantee. It's really just a gas quality guarantee with about 1 million disclaimers that they've kind of been upfront when we pushed them of like, you're never actually going to we're never going to pay it out.
Well,
So in a perfect world, like it would have been great if we could have found a use for this with these federal tax credits
Yeah.
or some alternative. But one of the biggest problems is we only have until like the end of August to do that. And we don't even have time right now to evaluate the RG&E project with everything we still need from Navitas, with how far behind they are. And I think, Navitas did a really good job of, it's their job to push this through because they're salesmen. They want to make money. I get that. And their job is to push us to say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I know your favorite word, progressive disclosure, of like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And they want to compress our timetable. And we've got to push back and say, no, I don't want you to compress our timetable. I want to look and evaluate this because we're doing this now with our money, but the residents' money. And that's important. And there's just not enough information to see a way that this can be financially viable for us with how much is unknown, or do we even have the time to figure this out? Because the last thing we want to do is on a project of this size, rush it in 30 days and be like, oh, we still want to do this. And we're going to somehow like wrap up this long list of pieces left in 30 days between negotiating gas contracts, RG&E, third-party suppliers, Navitas, et cetera. And I think in terms of RG&E, like, that's their stance. They don't want to play ball. The reply to us on the comments was essentially, no, we're not willing to negotiate anything.
Right.
And once again, like, it's stacked against us. We didn't have the time, and then we're in a place with RG&E, who's the least favorable utility provider to work with of all of them.
That's very true.
And it's an unfortunate situation that we couldn't make this work, and that's all of our roles in the prior one of like not. To your point, John, Navitas knew RG's contract was this one-sided.
Yeah.
Like if it's on their website, and within a couple hours I can find the contracts for all the other utility providers in New York, I'm sure a utility provider that covers the entire Northeast.
Well, I put my summary in an email that was sent out by the supervisor, and he did put his position, which he has reiterated again today with respect to this RG&E, specifically RG&E contract. And I'll repeat what I put in an email. Then I'm not speaking for you, and I'm not speaking for you. My position is that is the most fiscally irresponsible position to take with taxpayer money, given the liability laid out in those 39 pages.
I just want everybody to remember that there should be room for disagreement. So we all have opinions, and that's what we are. We're a grouping of 5 different individuals. We're going to make a vote on your opinion, and that's healthy. That's appropriate.
Yeah, and that's true. And as so everyone is aware, the vote is not to go forward with anything. Tonight is to cease all payments, basically end the project right here and then. Correct, John? This was your thing. Not like
my question is to our town attorney is will this resolution, the verbiage in this resolution, effectively kill this project? We're done.
Yes, as it relates to RG specific.
And Kyle,
the only other thing I want to say with respect to this and to the point that you just made, Nick, is that this contract's 39 pages. It's available. Everybody can get a copy of it, or you can go to their website and download this and make your own decision, formulate your own opinion based on the facts.
It's even less about the risk of the RG&E contract. Just there's so many variables, and sitting here saying a project that's going to lose $22 million is a viable thing to do, or lose $1 million a year. I mean, $1 million a year is a lot of money to lose, and that's the piece that I'm just caught up on.
Right.
And I know that there is an upside as well, but it's just that's not a gamble I'm willing to take with.
100%.
So Kyle, with this wording, will this work with Navitas and MSC? I think they'll probably just
Yes, all third-party vendors associated with the project. So it's a resolution to cease the work performed by those third-party vendors and to rescind authorization of payment for work that has not yet been performed.
Okay. And yeah, I think I agree. Like, disagreeing and talk about stuff is part of our job up here. And tying
Yep.
back, at least something we did right was we stair-stepped the MSC contract we broke that into phases. So at least our exposure there is limited to, they didn't quite finish phase one, so we had to spend all that money with them. But that's why we kind of do those things.
Kyle, the only question I have related to payments is, I know I had talked about, I got a copy of the AAA dated 6/26. I believe Mary Ann is waiting for another one. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes, you stated it before.
Yeah, okay, I just want to clarify that, because this resolution doesn't quantify as far as money goes.
It doesn't. It's just you're rescinding authorization for payment of work that has not yet been performed.
Gotcha.
So if it's been performed to date, then it would still be authorized for payment.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I maintain that, this isn't we're going to move forward. I would just maintain that I still support us doing the fact-finding mission of what it will be. But Councilman, this is your motion.
And so one other question, if we stop this project, who's going to take point and work with Navitas to minimize their difficulties and maximize what we get back? And Rick, I'd imagine we're going to try and use some of this
Say that
money.
again? Minimize and maximize what?
Like I imagine Navitas, because Bob's already said from Navitas that once we sign up for the full 380, we were fully
All
committed.
right, you know what? I'm sorry. I think we need Navitas here because there's
Yeah.
been a lot of disparaging comments about them. They gave us a number. They're done. They ceased it as soon as you guys said to stop all. They've stopped. I think they've been pretty honest and forward about that. So I don't know what you're
Oh, good. Well,
insinuating now.
in a prior email, Rick, he said it was a lumps. It was a performance
Remaining
contract.
balance of 161,000, I believe.
Yeah, he had a prior email where, but
Say the number again.
Rick, are you going to take point on that?
165,474. Okay.
Okay.
That's what they're standing by.
All right. Are you going to take point on working with them and find other ways to use the contingency money for the plant?
Yeah, we've already done that in front of the board, and this was from client savings, not from.
Okay, sorry. So from client, will there be other use of the client savings that we can use in the plant?
Yeah, but that's separate from this.
I'm just wondering as part of this.
Yeah, and we've done that. I came in front of you to use contingency. We're going to try to continue to get projects done that we pulled out when we value engineered. But yes, we're going to continue to do that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Councilman, your motion.
So I'll make the motion to immediately cease all work performed by third-party vendors related to the Town of Webster RNG project and to rescind authorization for payment of work that has not yet been performed. It's my motion.
Second.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wright,
Aye.
Supervisor Sheldon,
Nay.
Councilman Hunter,
Nay.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.